evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Village Board meeting to order on Monday, February 18, 2019. We're very pleased to be joined tonight by Cub Scout Pack number 130 from Westgate School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And let me just introduce the leaders and scouts who are with us tonight. The leader is Tom Starr, and the scouts are Jason Starr, Charlie Schulman, Henry Matson, Atticus Hartley, Jonathan Seagram, Brandon Marchinsky, Nathan Brown, and Mason LeMaid. So, gentlemen, the floor is yours. If you'd please proceed.
Color guard, attention. Audience, if you'll please rise. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Color guard, forward, march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, cross the colors. Color guard, post the flag of the United States of America. Color guard, post the flag of the Village of Arlington Heights. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2, color guard, return to ranks. Audience, please be seated.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you guys for a job well done. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Scaletta,
Here.
Trustee Padavani,
Here.
Trustee Blackwood,
Here.
Trustee Tinaglia, Trustee Baldino,
Here.
Trustee LaBedz,
Here.
Trustee Sidor,
Here.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and the first set of minutes is from the Village Board meeting from February 4th, 2019. Are there any changes or passes?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Blackwood, second by Trustee Baldino,
Pass.
passed by Trustee Scaletta. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next, the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting from February 11, 2019. Any changes or passes?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Rosenberg, second by Trustee Blackwood. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is the approval of the accounts payable, and I call on Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd move approval of the warrant register with a check date of February 15, 2019 in the amount of $1,686,197.65.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Rosenberg, second by Trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Padavani,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Sidor,
Yes.
Trustee Blackwood,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, next we move on to recognitions and presentations, and I, as mayor, have the opportunity to attend many 100th birthday parties here in the village of Arlington Heights at both our senior centers and out there in the community. It's one of the most enjoyable parts of my job for a number of different reasons, but I was asked to reach out and recognize one of our most prominent citizens, Winnie Graham Slugga. And she was willing and able to be here this evening, doing very well at age 100. But I suggested that perhaps we make some alternate plans in light of the bad winter we've had. I didn't want to take any chances. So I did attend her 100th birthday party this past Saturday, where over 100 family members of Winnie attended. And what a great event it was, and my wife and I both attended. She's a great lady and someone who's a prominent and longtime citizen here in the village of Arlington Heights, as well are a number of her family members. So I promised her that I would reach out and recognize her this evening, despite her absence. And so I do want to just read the proclamation that I presented to her on Saturday afternoon. Whereas Winnie Slugga was born on February 18, 1919 in Chicago, Illinois, where she was raised before moving to Arlington Heights. Whereas Winnie has been an active member of St. James Catholic Church and a resident of Arlington Heights for 43 years, still living independently in the home that she and her husband of 65 years raised their family in. Whereas up until the age of 93, Graham Slugga would cook Sunday night dinner for her family of 23, and still today the house is frequently visited by family and neighbors who always find the cookie and candy jars filled with homemade goodies. Whereas if Winnie was asked what her secret to living a long, happy, and healthy life is, she would respond, being surrounded by family and friends, daily prayers, eating well, and the occasional Manhattan cocktail. Whereas Winnie has seen history being made, watched her family grow, and lived a life filled with 100 incredible years. Now, therefore, I, Thomas W. Hayes, Mayor of the Village of Arlington Heights, along with the Village Board of Trustees, do hereby recognize the 100th birthday of Winnie Graham Slugga and wish her continued good health. It's actually her birthday today, so I know you're watching tonight, Winnie, and your family. So again, happy birthday, Winnie, and we wish you many, many more. Congratulations. All right, we move on then in the agenda to citizens to be heard. And we do have two blue cards tonight. The first is from Melissa Kayer. Melissa?
Hello. They have the police. I went on the tour of the police station this Saturday after the joint board meeting with the Park District, and I saw that they have video feeds of surveillance cameras throughout the village. Did you know that? They have video feed, TVs with all that.
Well, there are surveilling some areas in the village, not all throughout the village. So,
all right. Does the who gets to look at that? Is it broadcast to the public?
well, let me let Mr. Eckloss handle that if you are prepared.
No, generally speaking, the cameras focus on village-owned property. There's a couple of kind of public spaces, very public spaces, prominent spaces in the downtown where there are cameras, but those are only the camera feeds are only go to the police department.
And President Trump issued a national emergency on Friday. And the Selective Service, who is supposed to register for that and how often?
Well, I'm not sure I have the answer to that. Does anybody? Ms. Ward?
Guessing here. I believe you only have to register once, and I believe it's males when they turn 18.
But women do not have, females do
It's
not.
something you'd have to
Not 100% sure.
you'd have to go to probably a federal website to get information. We wouldn't have the best information on that as the village.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. And next, Mr. Pavelski. James?
Mayor Hayes, trustees, I was here a couple weeks ago and I had a concern about the postal delivery up in Lake Arlington town. And here I'm just to say thank you. First of all, for the courtesy that you showed me during my presentation a couple weeks ago, and for the follow-up and the phone call that I received from Randy right after he spoke with the postmaster. The issue has been resolved. Our regular guy is back. The mail delivery is on time and working out quite well. Also, I mentioned something about the plow truck drivers coming through the neighborhood, and I know we've had quite a bit of snow since then, and they seem to be going a little bit slower right now, and it's not piling up as much in my driveway at the curb. Again, thank you for the time that you gave me here and last week. And I guess this is one of the reasons why I've lived in Arlington Heights for 44 years. the response is wonderful, and for the village manager to call me at home and then to take my call back because I missed his call and get right to him impresses me. And my neighbors also say thank you. Two of them couldn't be here because one's in Florida and the other's in California. Again, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming, Mr. Pavelski, and thank you for the kind words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, there are no other blue cards. Anyone else in the audience wish to address the board on an item not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on then to old business. And we do have one item to report out tonight. And I'd call on Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. It is my pleasure, with your concurrence, Mayor Hayes, to move now, as I did earlier, the appointment of Stacy Ennis to the Performing Arts Metropolis Board of Directors with a term ending February 18th, 2022.
I will happily second that motion.
Got a motion by Trustee Blackwood, second by Trustee Sidor. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stacy, if you come forward to the podium. And just to make it official, we'll swear you in. So if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. And this is the most difficult thing you're going to have to do. So,
Good.
please repeat after me. I, and state your full name,
I, Stacy Ennis,
having been appointed to the Performing Arts Metropolis Board of Directors.
having been appointed to the Metropolis Board, Performing Arts Board,
Close enough.
sorry,
In the village of Arlington Heights,
in the village of Arlington Heights,
in the county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office according to the best of my ability.
of the office according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Stacy. We know you will. Come forward if you would. I'm going to present you with a village logo pin to wear as a representative of this village board. And also you need to sign your oath with the village clerk. So congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank you, Stacy.
And we do need, we have one other item under old business that has, needs to be continued to the March 4th meeting. And that's the interview of Brian Harrison for appointment to the Commission for Citizens with Disabilities. So can I have a motion to continue that to March 4th?
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Scaletta, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we move on then to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the audience wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, any members of the board wish to vote no or pass on any item on the consent agenda? Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you, Mayor. I am going to recuse myself from consent petitions and communications A, as my wife was part of soliciting donations for this raffle.
Okay, that's for Cub Scout Pack 129.
Yes.
Okay. And any other no's or passes? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. All, any further questions or comments? Anything from the audience? Roll call.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Blackwood?
Yes.
Trustee Padavani?
Yes.
Trustee Sidor?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. Move on then to new business, and we have one item to consider tonight, and that's the rezoning request from B1 to B2 for Westgate Park and Shop located on West Campbell Street. Is the petitioner present? And just introduce yourself for the record, if you would.
I'm Michael Schwartz. I'm one of the owners of the center.
Okay. You can go ahead and proceed.
Mayor Hayes, trustees, we're requesting the rezoning of the Westgate Center from a B1, which dates back to the 1950s, to a B2, which is a general business district. We currently meet all the criteria listed in 5.111 of the municipal code and exceed the 4-acre size required. The far smaller strip center across the street from us is already zoned B2. I believe that when we were originally designated with this B1, the B2 was not available. Rezoning will allow us for expansion of our potential tenant base, help us seek a greater variety of new businesses, and to expand existing businesses. We also are seeking a variation to waive a new traffic and parking study for the expansion of Fitness 19. There will be no additions to our buildings, no changes to our available parking spaces, and its capacity that would require a new study under Chapter 28, Section 6.12-1. We've twice previously conducted this traffic study to accommodate any potential issues with Fitness 19.
Okay. Before I go to the board for questions or comments, let me go to the administration. So, Mr. Recklaus?
I have a few comments I'm going to make after Mr. Enright makes his comments.
Okay. Mr. Enright?
Mayor, Village Board, I'll be very brief. Staff supports the request to rezone the property. There are just a couple of small shopping centers in the village that are zoned B1. Most of our centers are either B2 or B3. There's not a whole lot of difference between B1 and B2, and in the staff report, one of the exhibits kind of outlines the difference between the B1 and B2 categories. This center is not unlike many other centers. This is certainly more neighborhoody, but in terms of adjacent land uses, we often have residential properties directly abutting or across from a shopping center. In this case, to the south, you have an office development, and to the north, you have a mixture of commercial with some homes across to the right, the kind of northeasterly. And then to the east, abutting, you have 4 single-family homes. To the west, across Wilkie Road, you have 3 or 4 homes in Rolling Meadows. So in terms of the lay of the land, I mean, this is pretty common for centers to be adjacent to residential, so we don't see this as being any of the new uses that would be permitted being objectionable. There are several uses in the B2 that require special uses, so that would require review by the Planning Commission and Village Board, other than small restaurants under 4,000 square feet. One thing we check, whether it's B1 or B2, is parking. So anytime a new business wants to come into a shopping center, irregardless of the zoning, the total shopping center has to meet the parking requirements. This center currently meets the parking requirements with an excess of 24 parking spaces. There is one business that's looking to expand, Fitness 19, that's expanded a couple times, as the petitioners alluded to. So this rezoning would allow that business to expand without further zoning actions. But that's only part of the justification for this. The other part of the justification is long-term to make it more viable to leasing empty spaces that come up. It's pretty well tenanted right now. But this will allow the property owner to attract additional tenants that should not be objectionable to the surrounding properties. The Plan Commission did recommend this to the Village Board unanimously, as does staff. That would conclude my presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Enright. Randy?
I would also note that as a condition of a variation discussion a couple of years back, the owner of the Westgate Shop and Retail Center was required to remove one of their 2 signs and replace the remaining sign with a single multi-tenant monument sign. Staff has discussed this issue on several occasions with the property owner since the variation was granted, including as recently as January. At this stage, staff intends to engage in further enforcement action over the next few days to get them to come into compliance. However, staff does not believe it is advisable to recommend any further conditions on the request for rezoning under consideration this evening due to these old signage issues. We don't believe the business owner of Fitness 19 should be punished for any past or current noncompliance of their landlord.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Recklaus. Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Rosenberg.
So Randy, in relation to the sign, is it in our best interest to maybe go direct to Walgreens, because they seem like they're the issue? And
we've received correspondence that Walgreens is okay with the change. They just aren't willing to pay for it.
Okay. So, Mr. Schwartz, what's your next step then?
To help us comply with the directive to remove the Campbell Street sign, we'd like to request an extension through the spring of this year. For a couple of reasons. First of which is we have an ongoing discussion with Walgreens, we've had a very difficult time identifying the responsible parties. They've had a terrific turnover of people and keep turning them over. But we have some new ideas. Specifically, our dentist, Dr. Mulvaney, has come up with some interesting ideas that we're proposing to them, and it may take a little while for us to keep this going. If we could be granted this extension, the tenants that are now identified on that sign would, keep their identification until we can resolve this issue. We have no trouble with complying with this, and we'll be happy to do so. But the second issue, of course, is weather right now.
If, let's say, the end of spring comes, and things have not moved along, what's your next step then?
Well, we will simply remove the sign.
Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Sidor.
I know this is going to be a little out there, Randy, but I remember the discussion on those signs, and I was always just to keep that sign on Campbell Street for the tenants that are there. And if you're coming from the from the east, going down Campbell Street, just makes it easier to identify. Is it 100% sure that they're going to have to yank that sign down?
They what they're required to do is remove one of their signs and retain a single multi-tenant sign. Where that's coming from is looking at our code and looking how we've treated other similar centers throughout the community in order to be consistent. That would be what would need to be done, based on our requirements, based on what this board has voted upon. That's what would need to be required. I mean, we always work with property owners on getting in compliance. We're not looking to be punitive. We're looking to get people to be compliant. And we always take into consideration factors in terms of what's going on with them and how long it's going to take for them to get something done. But like I said, we did issue another response on this in January and received no reply until this evening. We certainly will work with them to come up with a reasonable plan, but at some point a citation will be issued. Otherwise, we're really not being fair to the other property owners in the community. They have to follow the same standards.
I'm okay for now, Mayor. I might think of something else.
Okay. Anybody else? Trustee Scaletta.
So we're here talking about the change in the zoning, but we're here talking about signage again. So were you the gentleman that represented ownership 3 years or
Yes.
back in 2015?
Yes.
Okay. You remember our conversation, right?
Yes, I do.
And what I said was going to happen, right?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I
As I
recall that
recall,
specifically.
well, specifically that the village was working with Walgreens, and you could have moved forward with it, but that you were going to have to invest in the sign. And I said, this is your time because you never know what's going to happen at Walgreens. People change and, they move around. And that's what happened, right?
Well, it's a little more complex than that. I don't know if we should go into that based on this other vote, but.
I'm not going to hold this against you. If anything, I'm going to try and help you with it. But I'm just trying to understand why we're back here again with this signage.
According to code, among other things, the letters on the sign identifying the tenants would be about 4 inches high, which can only be read from a maximum of 20 feet. Also, another issue Walgreens had was by raising their sign up to the top, which was one of the proposals, that they couldn't reach the letters to change them without a ladder, which they can do now. We've talked to maybe 8 or 9 different people, one after another, who are aware of this or not aware of this, and I don't know how that's going to be resolved or if it can be resolved, but one way or another, of course, we're simply going to comply with it. But I feel that Dr. Mulvaney and some of his ideas may work out so that we can keep everything within code and remove that come spring.
Okay. And because you did receive a sign variation, right, for the existing sign?
Yes, that's the other issue. This thing has been there for over 20 years, I believe.
Right. Well, and that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
And so my point to you is that, if you were to apply for a sign variation, it would go through the plan commission and come before the board.
Excuse me, but John Riddler emailed me today that he was going to set up a meeting with the village manager for just that reason, that perhaps we could talk about this variation as well.
You know John Riddler, right, Randy?
I do.
I'm sorry, that email just came yesterday.
Feel free to reach out to the village manager and people in planning, and they're very open and willing to sit down and talk.
That's exactly what we were planning to do.
I'm really happy to see that Fitness 19 has had the success that they've had, and I want to see them continue thriving. When I look at that shopping center, because I do visit it from time to time, I can see the amount of open parking spaces that exist. You have a lot of people who are kind of coming and going from Walgreens and from Ace Hardware. So there is, I mean, you guys are called Stop and Shop or something to that effect, and you're definitely people.
Back in 1950 it was called.
Yes. All right. Well, people do stop there, they shop, and then they leave. Fitness 19 is probably the one, that and the dentist, where they spend probably the longest amount of time there. I'm supportive of the efforts. I think that it would be good for you to have a little bit more opportunity for finding a mix of tenants that work. I mean, you do very well at that shopping center for your low vacancy. So I have to commend you on that. I just want to see the sign come to fruition.
Thank you.
Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. I have a non-sign question. On the site plan, just so that I understand, as I look at the site plan, the expansion for Fitness 19 will actually be behind a vacant storefront?
Yes.
So there will still be an opportunity for another tenant that...
That will only leave the former Subway and liquor store, which adjoin each other, as our only empty spaces, which we're working on now.
So what is, if this part of Fitness 19 is behind a space, what's in front of it? Is that...
Actually, they're taking the entire space.
Oh, okay. That's
The
not
entire
clear.
remaining space, I see.
Okay, it wasn't clear on here, and I just wanted to clarify that. All right, thanks. I have no problem with the rezoning.
Okay, anything further? Well, I also have no problem with the rezoning, and I'm glad to see Fitness 19 and Jason doing so well. So congratulations, and great to see a lot of people trying to improve their health and fitness in the village of Arlington Heights, which is always a good thing. So I'm also in favor of the rezoning. Anything from the audience on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Padavani, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. And next we move on in the agenda to legal. Yeah, we do have a resolution approving a highway authority agreement, which was on our agenda last time and got continued. And so, Mr. Reckloss?
Thank you, Mayor. If you all recall, there were some questions raised by Trustee Baldino at the last meeting. And since that time, we've had a fair amount of back and forth with Arcadis, which is the consulting firm that did the environmental work on this project, and staff, and then again, Trustee Baldino. So I would let Trustee Baldino kind of talk about where he's at with this issue, given his expertise and what he found.
Thank you, Randy. So the thing that jumped out to me was that between 2002 and 2017, the concentrations of contaminants of interest at this site went down. And so my question was geared toward, do we have any data to tell us where these things went? And the answer was, no, we don't, because it was not required by IEPA. So I had to sort of assume worst case scenario for exposure to these contaminants at this site. And we know there is risk at this site. That's why they're asking for an institutional control for construction workers. I don't believe that there's unacceptable risk to businesses and residences around this property. I think that's pretty clear. So, you know, my question hasn't really been answered, but I feel comfortable recommending that this motion move forward, and not to cut off any further discussion from the rest of the board, but I would make a motion to approve this request for institutional control.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, motion by trustee Baldino, second by trustee Scaletta. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we roll call on this? Roll call?
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Sidor,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Padavani,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Blackwood,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. And we do appreciate trustee Baldino's expertise on this issue and items which are definitely beyond my expertise. And so thanks, Rich, for the questioning on this item. We move on then in under legal to an ordinance amending Chapter 13 of the Arlington Heights Municipal Code, hotel and cosmetic facility liquor license classifications. Mr. Reckloff.
Assistant Manager McCula has this one.
So thank you, Manager Recklaus. So over the past few years, the village has received inquiries from various businesses interested in opening or desiring the sale of alcoholic beverages in a way that the village did not permit. The village's liquor code has served the village very well, but the board's interest in encouraging additional entertainment uses within our community and in order to compete better in the marketplace, the board has asked staff to conduct research into creating additional liquor classifications where appropriate. So in September of 2018, you may recall that the board directed staff to draft an ordinance to permit the retail sale of liquor at hotels in a gift shop area and to permit the retail sale of in-room minibars. Also, recently, in a response to a January 18th, 2019 staff memo, the village board provided feedback which resulted in consensus to pursue creation of a new liquor license for the sale of liquor at salons and spas and asked staff to prepare an ordinance for consideration this evening. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight is the two new liquor classifications. So we're going to be talking about hotels and cosmetic facilities. So the new hotel liquor license permits the retail sale of liquor at hotels at a retail location, so it could be a gift shop or a market area, and or permits in-room minibars. So the proposed requirements staff put together includes proof that the purchaser is a guest of the hotel. Liquor for sale is going to be in a retail location that is accessible only to hotel staff or in a locked cabinet or cooler. Liquor in an in-room minibar will be in a locked cabinet and access provided only to guests who are 21 years or older. And then sellers and servers must be BASID certified in order to sell and serve liquor, and then liquor liability insurance must be obtained. Any questions?
Questions on this one? Trustee Scaletta.
Dana, in the materials, there were hours listed for.
Correct.
So could we talk about that just for a second?
Sure.
So the hours for retail purchase in the lobby are limited to.
Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to midnight.
Right.
Friday and Saturday, it's 8 a.m. till 1 a.m. And then on Sunday, 8 a.m. to midnight.
Okay.
So those are the proposed retail sales.
Okay. And so what is our retail sale policy for Mariano's or a liquor store or Jewel?
Okay, so there's the hours of operation there. It mirrors that.
They're the same. That's where they came from.
They're the same.
It's the same.
Okay.
We made sure to
I use
compare
the
to
same
that.
retail hours.
Okay. My wife sent me to Aldi to buy a bottle of wine for something, and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and they said, no, it's not time yet. So I'm like, all right, so off. So, okay, so it is the same?
That could be their own personal
Right, or
hours of
or maybe
operation.
it changed and they just haven't picked up on it.
Quite possible.
When we did change the laws a few years ago, we did send a letter to everybody notifying them of the change.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I wanted to make sure, and then and that's N, right?
Yes, that's it.
Correct.
And then O is for in room.
No.
No, O is cosmetic
O
facility.
is the cosmetic.
And
Okay.
N covers both in-room and retail sale. They can have either or both.
Right. And then obviously, when somebody has a key to their mini bar, there is no time, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
That's why, if you.
It says retail sales only.
Retail
Okay.
sales only, because
Okay.
we're not gonna
Just
monitor
double checking.
people's rooms.
Right. No.
Right, yeah, we're not doing.
Okay. I have no other questions then.
All right, Trustee LaBedz.
Yes, I have a question, Diana. Will you, when, just as you do with a restaurant, you go on site and you look to see where the liquor is being sold and so forth, will you do a similar walkthrough with hotels?
Yes, I will. So we're going to ask for a business plan, asking them to put in writing how they're going to monitor and handle liquor sales.
And will you also look at a minibar in a room too?
Yes,
Or
correct.
That'll all be part of that.
Right.
Okay.
So because we know that some may issue a key and some of it's all digital now, so they may just have a scan card.
Right, right. Okay, I just want to be sure that it was similar. Thank you.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. So Diana, for the third bullet point, where you talk about guests who are 21 and older, so if there's people in the room that are under 21 in that room, accompanied by a person who's 21 and older, then that's sufficient as far as the rules?
The key will be given to the person who's 21.
Okay.
So whether there's guests that are underage, we wouldn't necessarily know that.
Okay. I mean, obviously, there's no way to control that, so.
Correct.
Okay. And then as far as, to the best of our knowledge, there's no facility that's actually selling retail now?
There are. So
There
there's
are?
2 locations that were grandfathered in,
Okay.
and those are the courtyards.
I see, okay. That's what I thought, okay. So they will now, did they have a liquor license?
They do. They'll be able to benefit for the reduced fee.
Ah, okay. But in their case where, let's say they have a bar area also,
So they maintain their restaurant license to be able to consume in that area. So they pay for that also.
okay, so this will be in addition to their existing license as a restaurant then?
Correct. And they have that now. It's just going to be a different type of a license.
Okay. All right. It's the only question I have, thanks.
With respect to the mini bars, I should know this, but I don't. Is there a minimum age required to rent a hotel room in town, motel room?
I don't believe we have a specific requirement. I think 18 is generally what's permitted. I don't know. I could find
Let's
one.
just assume that it is 18.
Right.
And so when someone goes to rent a hotel room, the proprietor will verify that they're over 21 before they give them a key to the minibar.
Correct. What we anticipate happening is that key to the minibar will be separate from, or will be digitally locked with a code. And before they can give them access to the minibar, they have to prove that they're 21.
Okay, so not everyone who gets a hotel room
Correct.
gets the key to the minibar.
That is
the-
correct.
The question.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not automatic like it used to be in the old days or when they weren't locked at all. Ours will need to be locked if anybody uses them.
All right, Trustee Scaletta.
Dana, for clarification, Section 5, underneath the class of license where they have the Monday through Thursday, you have that chart, and then below it, there's some holidays.
Yes.
Why on the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Thanksgiving can Class N have liquor till 2?
So let's see here. Let me look into that. Robin, do you know when you
I
created
do.
that?
It's the same. It's just to treat them like the other retail users. If you look at the other retail users like the Class Bs and the Double Bs, it's just giving them the same rights that other retail,
Like, I'm sorry, like the who?
like the Class Bs and Double Bs, which are regular retail licenses. It was just treating them the same way. Essentially, the retail end of the Class N was treated like any other retail establishment.
So that means the package sales. So the other package stores can do this as well.
So if you look at the chart, you can see that a Class B can stay open until 2 a.m. on those. Class Double B can stay open until 2 a.m. on those. So it was just treated the same way the other retail establishments were.
Do they have the same restrictions as the chart above, that like Monday through Thursday, they can only be
Yes.
open till midnight?
They're all the same. Those are the retail hours. For the Class N's, those are the retail hours.
It just seems odd that on Memorial Day, Labor Day,
I would like to explain that to you, but I don't have an explanation for that. It's been in place, it
I
predates
hear
me,
you,
it's
it
been in
just
place a
seems
long
very odd.
time.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe look at that for a future update, I guess.
It's actually on the list of things we should look at in the future, absolutely.
Okay.
Any further questions on Class N before we move on to cosmetics? All right, cosmetics?
Okay, so the new cosmetic facility liquor license, a definition was created called cosmetic facility. And so it is any place of business at which a person receives cosmetic services from a state licensed professional, such as a barber, cosmetologist, or nail technician. However, cosmetic facility shall not include places of business which are classified as massage acupressure establishments. So that is the proposed new definition. And you may recall that as part of the January memo that I sent to the board, we did do a survey of 9 municipalities that do have these types of spa licenses where liquor can be sold. And so the results show that out of the 9 communities, 4 allow beer and wine consumption only, and 5 allow all alcoholic beverages to be consumed. That includes, spirits, whiskeys, that kind of thing. In terms of the quantity sold, you'll see that a majority, 4 of those out of the 9 communities, limit the serving to 2 per person per day. And the serving size, 5 of the municipalities really don't have a size limit. 3 of them have a size limit to beer and wine only. So with that, and based upon the feedback that we heard from the board, staff put together some proposed requirements for this new classification. So we're proposing that this will allow the retail sale of beer and wine only for consumption on the premises. That liquor may be sold only to customers during the time they are in the facility to receive services. Customers are limited to 2 alcoholic beverages during any one calendar day. There is no restriction on size of drinks. And sellers and servers must be Bassett certified in order to serve liquor. And then liquor liability insurance must be obtained. And I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, questions from the board? And just to clarify, it does say it very clearly that barber shops would be included in this category.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, anything from the board on this? Seeing none. Anything from the audience? Seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve?
Did you want me to go over any of the process requirements or?
Well, if there's questions. Trustee Scaletta?
I'm gonna wait until we get closer, but I want to go back because I have a question about the language for the hotel part.
Okay, so just to continue really quickly, just so the board and the audience understands, we do have a liquor license process. The process itself takes about 8 to 10 weeks after there's a full submittal. The application needs to be completed, background checks are conducted. If that is satisfactory, then the applicant has a liquor license interview before the village board. They're required to get the dram shop insurance, and we have proposed category for the fees. So the hotel, Class N, if they're gonna get both retail package and in-room sales, we're proposing that fee amount be $1,400. And if they're just gonna get one of the classifications, it's $1,000. And then for the cosmetic facilities, that's Class O, and that is we're proposing that fee amount to be $1,400. And that cost is similar to the coffee shop license we created a few years ago, and staff felt that the users were most like in this category where the alcohol is truly incidental to the primary business use of both hotels and the cosmetic facilities. So we put a reduced fee amount.
Do you have anything else, Diana?
No, we're just
Okay.
recommending that the board approve the ordinance amending Chapter 13 of the municipal code to create the 2 new liquor license classifications.
Okay. Trustee Scaletta, did you have anything else?
I just had a quick, maybe, suggestion. So so 2, I'm trying to figure out how to explain where I'm at. I'm back to the memo. Number 2, it says that section 13-501, and then go to the 3rd paragraph. In each hotel room, the hotel may install cabinets for the storage of liquor for the use of guests in each room, provided, however, that each cabinet must be locked and access may only be given to a guest who is 21 or older at the time of checking into the hotel. I'm wondering whether it should specifically say registered guests. I just kind of talked it out with Trustee LaBedz. So if you have like an 18 or a 19-year-old who has a room and they go to check in, but they have someone who's 21 with them, and they say, "Can I have the key? Because I'm over 21." Doesn't it make sense that we would want them to be registered so we know who they are, like a registered guest of the hotel? Because the way this is written doesn't.
Yeah, that's no problem.
It's a good
To a
addition.
registered guest who is 21 or older at the time of checking into the hotel.
Yes.
Sure, we can add that.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I would move approval of this with the addition of the word registered in front of guest.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Scaletta, second by Trustee Baldino. Further questions or comments from the board? Trustee Sidor.
Just quickly, that, if there's a bunch of kids in a hotel and they want to drink, they're going to find out a way to drink, right?
Yes.
So if you have a family and a family of, 4 kids, let's say, and some of them are college kids and some of them are high school kids, and the parents get 2 rooms and the kids get the key to 1 room and the parents are in the other room, and it's very hard to, and I agree with you, John, it should be changed a little bit on the language, but it's going to be difficult to make this perfect language, and we're going to have to leave it up to the hotel owner to, monitor this if they wish to, or for us to do it somehow. But I don't know how you're going to make somebody register if they're registered under their parent's name and the parent's credit card is on file and they've got 2 rooms and one of the sons or daughters is 21 or older. That's my only concern with that kind of language, because it may not happen.
Well, with that, if I might say, the
Yeah.
key would be given to the parent.
Correct.
I'm looking at it a different way, where you have someone who's younger,
Renting the
who's
hotel.
said, "Okay, I got a room. Let's
Sure.
go
Okay.
to Arlington Heights."
I know.
And while they're standing there, they're like, "Oh, I'm 21.
Right.
I can have the key." Well, let's make sure we know who the 21-year-old is
Understood.
by
I
making
think
sure
it's
that
a good
they're
thing. I think it's a
added
good
to the room.
change. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further from the board? Anything from the audience on either new classification? Seeing none. We did have a motion, so roll call.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee Padavani,
Yes.
Trustee Blackwood,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Sidor,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Congratulations, Jackie.
Oh, I didn't even see Jackie there.
Assuming this is
Make your
what you
check
want.
payable to the Village of Arlington Heights.
Well, okay. There is no other legal item, so report of the village manager.
Nothing further this evening.
Right, anything from the board under petitions and communications? Seeing none, they entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.